Welcome back to another Estate Agent Stories. My name is Chris Watkin, and today I'm joined by Tony and Michaela Anaka, who are long-established estate agents from that small village called London. And they're here to tell me their story about how they got together and the trials and the tribulations of running an estate and letting agency and everything else that goes with it. Tony, Michaela, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Now, we've known each other for many a year. I think the first time we met was at an estate agency conference called Sanchfest, which was about 5 or 6 years ago in sunny Doncaster, where we were having a few Jaeger bombs. And,
Yeah.
I've not looked back since. Now, you guys are, especially you, Michaela, you're prevalent on social media, and an awful lot of estate agent and letting agents know you. I think you run a big UK letting agent Facebook group or landlord group, don't you?
Landlord, yeah.
And you're not shy of telling your opinion. So that's why I've invited you up to Grantham today to go through your story. So
Okay.
the purposes of today, boys and girls, of what we're doing is that if Tony and Michaela tell their story, then there's probably things that you could learn or have affinity with. Because everyone's story is unique, but I think a lot of us do have a lot of shared stories as well. So when you were growing up as children, and just jump in at any time, I'm not going to pick anyone in particular, but did either of you want to be estate agents and landlords and letting agents?
No.
When I was growing up in Nigeria, because I was born in Nigeria, when I was growing up, not necessarily being an estate agent, because one of my grandfather from my mother's side, he's got a lot of properties, what we call Port Harcourt in Nigeria. And we used to admire him because he had this Citroen he was driving then. So we used to admire him because he had a lot of properties and he was making money.
Big in the game, Citroen.
Yes, Citroen, yeah.
with the old suspension.
Yeah,
gas
suspension.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to be an estate agent.
Not an estate agent, but getting involved, being a landlord, really.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Tony, you are obviously considerably older than Michaela. Yes. Obviously, it goes without saying, because you obviously got her when she was very young. Because you're retired now, aren't you?
Semi-retired.
Semi-retired. Okay, good stuff. When did you get to the UK?
I got to UK 1st of September 1979.
And what made you want to come to the UK from Nigeria?
When I was in Nigeria, when I finished my O-levels, I got a job in the bank, where I was, Niger State, it's called Niger State. There were 3 banks, Barclays Bank International, Standard Chartered, and Bank of the North. So I applied, 3 of them gave me interview and offered me a job, but I prefer Barclays Bank because it's more widely known. So I joined Barclays Bank February 1976, and like anybody else, like even in this country, young people, you see all your friends, going abroad, a lot of them are coming to London, going to America. All of a sudden, I said, no, I can't stay in Nigeria. Nigeria was good. Nigeria was booming. There was money. We young people were enjoying ourselves then. Within 3.5 years, I had 3 motorbikes in Nigeria. We were really enjoying ourselves, but we got to move on, so I applied to come over here to study banking and finance. That's how I ended here.
So you arrived just as Margaret Thatcher was coming in.
Exactly.
So, Tony, where did the property or the finance passion come from in your family?
My family property, like in Nigeria, my tribe, they normally, you can have a shop, big house, you have a shop downstairs, then you rent out rooms. So our people always invest in properties, Igbo tribe. Then, as I said, my grandfather was into property in those days.
He was a big player, was he?
Yeah, he was a big player. As I said, in the 60s, he had Citroen. And and as a child, you never forget, I still remember the number plate, the registration number, And that got me interested in property side. So when I came here, obviously I didn't come here to do property, I came here to study. my intention was to study 3 or 4 years and go back to Nigeria, because Nigeria was booming in those days, you know. And I met Michaela around 83, and my story started changing. Initially was for 3 or 4 years to go back, and then, you know.
Good stuff. Tony, what did you learn from your parents growing up?
The person I learned most really was my grandfather, you know, because in Nigeria, your father doesn't really get much involved with bringing up children. My mother died when I was about 8.
Okay, sorry to hear that.
And my father remarried, you know. So the person I learned much from is my grandfather, because my father was always hustling, trying to make money for the children. And my grandfather always, you know, showed me around, like during the war when I used to go fishing and things like that. He said to me, when you get the fish, give them some for the food, go and sell some, and put the money in your pocket and save. So he showed me how to make some money and save some for myself, and don't just give it out.
So he made you into a bit of a hustler.
Yeah.
Michaela, when you were growing up, did you want to be an estate agent, letting agent, property investor?
No, I wouldn't say I wanted to be an estate agent, but I did love property because my parents used to move a lot. So my father died when I was when my mum was pregnant with me. She was newly married, and he actually died of carbon monoxide poisoning. So that's why I am very hot on carbon monoxide detectors. He my mum remarried, and he was like a builder, so he used to do lots of my stepfather used to do a lot of building work, and we moved a lot. So we moved up north, came back down, and all that stuff. So I always had an interest in property because I could see the uplift.
I'm with you. I'm with you. And this was all in the 70s, was it? In the early 80s?
Yeah, in the 70s.
What did your mother teach you as you were growing up?
My mum's quite frugal, so
Still got your mum? She's in
yeah, I've
Spain,
still
isn't
got
she?
my mum, yeah. And she taught me, actually, she taught me resilience. She taught me how to manage and do things. And no matter what the odds are, you have to keep carrying on. My grandmother is quite a player in my life as well, and she's still alive. And she's 98.
Wow.
And she's definitely she comes from a property family. So her father was a master builder, did lots of developments and stuff.
Whilst your stepdad wasn't your father, he obviously played an important part of your life. What did he teach you?
Not well. I would say actually he used to start things and not finish them. So I don't think that was a very good thing.
Do you finish things?
I didn't when I was younger, but I try to now.
Okay. Tony, is she very good at finishing things?
No, she's she does a lot of things and doesn't.
Spin lots of plates.
Yeah.
Yeah, but surely it's better to spin lots of plates and have some of them finished than spin no. I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of letting agents, they're very perfectionists, and therefore they won't start anything because it won't be perfect.
Yeah.
Are either of you a perfectionist? Who's the perfect?
I'm not a perfectionist, but I like to do things properly. Not to 100%, you got to be 100%, you know, but no.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's true. But I as far as my work goes, compliance, I am pretty, I'm pretty a perfectionist in that one.
Do you think because of what happened with your late father and the carbon monoxide that you probably just almost not, you can never be too careful, don't get me wrong, but that motivated you to make sure that everything's perfect?
Yeah, and I think also working in this industry for so long, I see landlords make a lot of mistakes, and I think one of the things I've learned over the years is that actually I don't know everything. I can never know everything, so I'm always learning, and I think that is one of the problems that a lot of landlords face. I can manage it myself, and I know what I'm doing. and they don't actually keep up
Well,
to
the
date.
horror stories that are at some of these Facebook groups, as you know, you run one, just basically page one stuff. We're not even talking advanced stuff. It's like, oh my word! So you guys met together in the early 80s.
Yeah.
Here was this dark, suave man that came into your life. He was a bit of a banker, just doing his exams, and you lured him in, did you?
You know what happened in those days? You know, we Nigerians, you young Nigerians, will come over here, we see girls, you say, oh, I love you, I love you. And my wife was laughing at me. How can you love you just saw the person. How can you love the person? But in our own thing, that's the way we, try to chat up girls, so love you and not. But
I can tell him with a spark in his eyes. He's a bit of a ladies' man, isn't he? It's that little glint in his eyes. It's lovely, isn't it? Was it an instant spark between the pair of you?
yeah, it was really a friend introduced us, my friend and
Yeah.
her friend, Simon and Michelle, introduced me to her, and then one thing leads to another.
So whereabouts were you living at this point? Is it South London? You're in South East London?
Funny enough, I lived in Woolwich, which is where I was born, but Tony was living in a bedsit,
Okay.
a little bedsit in Lewisham.
Okay.
And it had 1960s furniture in it. Well, I found a photo of it the other day. We were laughing, but it had flowery curtains, that type of thing. And yeah, it was a funny little place. But I used to stay there quite a lot with him. So, and then we got a flat and we moved out.
So in the mid 80s, you graduated from banking. Now you'd met Michaela, you weren't going back. Had you decided when did you get married, guys?
Got married 86.
86.
Yeah.
Actually, about 85, I was meant to either go back to Nigeria or go to America. But Michaela persuaded me, to stay with her, and our parents were not really interested. Her parents said, "Oh, you can't marry him because the culture will clash." My father said, "Don't marry a white woman because I will not come home." So,
So did you have any issues with regard to the fact is that obviously you're British white and you're
your parents they didn't approve of it at the beginning.
Yeah, well, we've had a lot of issues anyway, because back then Britain was still quite racist, to be honest, and a mixed marriage was quite. It wasn't unheard of because it was kind of in the 50s and sort of thing, but a few people were, getting married to foreigners and stuff like that, but it was still frowned upon, and I did find that it was quite, people were still quite racist, and it did affect Tony quite a bit because I remember when he was applying for jobs in banks, so part of it was to do with his qualifications as well, because he was overqualified for the positions he was applying for, but they wouldn't give him the managerial position. So that was what he was facing at that time. So the reason why we got married in 1986 was partly because I knew that if Tony went back to Nigeria, he wouldn't come back because his parents his father would, and his uncle would have him marrying somebody from his own tribe. So, and all I got from people was, "Oh, he only married you to stay here," but actually, it was.
You married him to keep him in.
I married him to keep him in. Yeah. So, I think Tony is really just. He's really tried. He's really tried. He's worked really hard. So that's why I let him off now and let him have a little bit of a rest.
Tony, how did it make you feel that you got an exam which allowed you to go for a management role, but because of the colour of your skin, they weren't giving you the job at the time?
Yeah.
And you were going for lower jobs, which, when I say, on the ladder, and they were saying that you were
overqualified.
How did that make you feel?
Yeah, obviously, it's the system. And I felt depressed because Here I was, banking qualification, postgraduate diploma in management studies. And then I have to come down. At times when I apply for job, I don't even put my qualification. I just put only O levels. Because when they see my qualification, they will not even call me for interview. So it was quite depressing. But eventually I know that is reality, and I just have to face it.
So you went for a job in security,
Yeah.
and you were working at a local petrol station as a young couple.
Yeah.
Had you bought your first house by this point?
Yeah, we bought our first house. By the way, I used to apply for jobs with my maiden name and not with my married name, because otherwise I wouldn't get invited for an interview.
Yeah.
So that's how bad things really
It was
were.
bad in the 80s.
So awful, truly awful. So how was the early 90s? Interest rates were up at 15%. Working, had your daughter by this point?
No.
No, you hadn't.
No
We
children.
bought our first house in 89.
89, we
Yes.
bought our first house.
That was right at the top of the market, just
Yeah,
as she
yeah,
was about
exactly.
to drop.
And we had to move outside of London. We had to move to Rochester because we couldn't afford to buy in London.
The Medway, God,
Yeah,
that
that's where.
must have scarred you.
And that when the area was really down, but
Yeah.
the dockyard, everything was closed.
Really nice now, though.
Yeah,
Let's
it's nice
Yeah.
now, but that's
And we used to go, I'll tell you, we went to Chatham because Chatham had the shopping centre. So we went to this furniture shop to buy a bed. So of course, I wasn't really used to this type of thing. So we're in the furniture shop. And this little girl says, Mummy, there's a man there. He's a funny colour. He's gone brown, dark brown. And the mum's going, stop it. And I thought to myself, I wonder if we're the only black and white people here, because then it made me kind of look around, and there were hardly any black people there. So that was a revelation.
You have a lot of Indian, but not like in
Yeah, I mean now it's different, but back then it was quite.
When I'm going to work in London, most of the carriages, I'm the only black person till I get towards Dartford and going to Wiltshire. It was interesting.
But you moved back into London and rented out Rochester. Why did you do that?
I lost my job, and all the jobs I were applying for, they said that the journey would be too far.
That's really far.
So I decided to move back to London, and I found this house, and the rent was quite cheap on it. So I thought, had an idea here. People are selling these rent-to-rent courses, but I was doing that years ago anyway. So we had this house, and we used to let all the rooms upstairs, and we used to live downstairs.
3 rooms downstairs.
And I put a new bathroom in downstairs, and we stayed downstairs.
I worked hard and put the bathroom downstairs.
Yeah.
So you were married at this point. You had your first child in this new house. You rent to rent.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
had it first, and then a year later we had
rented it out to a lot of Australians, Aussies, when they used to do backpacking and things like that. It was quite interesting. We made a lot of money out of it. And then our first child came, and then she started having problem living with other people.
You did?
Yeah. She did, yeah. She had mental breakdown.
Actually, to be honest with you, I had postnatal depression very, very severely. And living with the people, because I was suffering from psychosis from the postnatal depression, the people in the house were doing things that was upsetting me, like removing stuff from the kitchen and taking pans and eating their dinner from the pans.
Disgusting.
In the room. Yeah. In the
Animals. Animals.
So in the end, I decided that we weren't quite ready to buy another house. So I decided that we would move out of there. And that was just before we opened our shop. So I got a house just round the corner from the shop.
Selling what?
Rented.
No, well, that was our office, because we opened up the estate agency.
What year did you open up the agency?
1999.
March 1999.
Because you'd been working as a interpreter in immigration.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And you'd had your second daughter the year before Kayla?
Yeah, 1998 we had
98.
Kaylee.
Okay.
I also sold insurance. I was at one point I was an insurance broker. Like in the mid 80s. You know that big,
Fingers and parlays.
big scandal about insurance brokers. You know that time selling insurance was like a wild west. You know we used to.
So, did you just set up your agency on your own, or did you bring someone in with you?
Yeah, I had a partner.
Who was the? I don't want to know the name, but what was the relationship with the business?
It's a friend, and you know, it's like I won't say brother, but to Africans will classify it as brother. We are from the same village, so we know ourselves in Nigeria before we came over here.
Okay, so you were set up an estate agency in '99. The housing market was just about to take off.
Yeah.
How did that go? How did it go that you went into business with your basically a friend from your village?
Yeah, yeah,
Did it go okay?
yes.
It went okay for a little while, but he was expecting big bucks to come, and it wasn't working out for him. And his wife wanted him, because they just got a house. They just bought a house, so his wife wanted him to be bringing in lots of money. And you don't really make a lot of money when you first start your agency. In fact, you don't make money for quite a long
Yes.
time. And so he went off and did something else, and we built the business up. And in 2002 he decided to come back, so we got him to come back. We actually moved to another office which was more on a high street, and the business was doing quite well.
So your business partner came back, things were going well, the housing market was rocking and rolling in 07, 05, 06, 07. How did the credit crunch hit you?
Okay, so 2008 we started to go through the credit crunch.
Oh yeah, before that time I was doing mortgages as well.
Yeah, Tony was doing mortgages.
You like to have a few fingers in a few
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I qualified as I got my CMAP in 2005.
Okay.
My 50th birthday was coming. I said to myself, I got to get this qualification for my 50. I said present to myself, and I did it. I got the qualification. Then I started doing mortgages. Our business was booming, so I was doing mortgages. Daniel, which is our partner, was in lettings. Michaela was in charge of office, admin, and
Things are going really well.
Things were going. Even at 2007, 2005, I had brand new BMW X3. My partner had BMW X3 when it first came out. So we are doing well. Until the credit.
Wasn't a Citroen though, was it?
Yeah.
I'm not it.
So I think I should mention at this point, during 2006 to 2007, okay, prior to that I was doing some training. I was actually,
You got a psychology degree, didn't
yeah,
you?
I did
University.
Open University before that. Then I started doing the CPCAB, which was, I wanted to be a counsellor. So I was going through so much. I was actually working with young people, and at home I was having problems with my daughter. She was just giving me hell, and she didn't like the fact that I was always working, and that gave me real problems. And so I had this child who was lying on the floor and said, I wish you was my mum. And then I would go home and I would have this child at home saying, I hate you and I don't want you to be my mum. So I was in so much conflict. And then the agency was ticking along and the partner was really doing a lot of the lettings and stuff. But there would be times, because I had so much going on, he would say to me, I gave you that money for the banking. I gave you that money for the banking, and little things like that were happening. And then I had a really bad breakdown. I think it was it 2007? It was 2007. So we had to go away for a little while. And my grandmother was here and she looked after the children while we went to Spain. And we went away and I kind of managed to get on an even. I think that I had overdone it. I tried to do too many things.
Okay, you were running a household because he was nowhere to see because he's fingers in pies, Tony. You've got a family to sort out, and you're a bookkeeper, manager, office manager in a letting agency. Meanwhile, you're doing a degree in psychology, or no wonder something had to give.
Yeah, and I was also doing my own psychotherapy because that's part of getting the qualification. You've got to do all of that as well.
The issues.
I actually, when I finished it, decided I didn't want to do it now. So that was, but it was a good thing because it has helped me with the business. So, but then we move on to 2008, and I actually found out that our partner was, he was taking money. So, for example, we didn't have a client account then. We had one whole account. So money was just paid into the bank. Because we started the agency ourselves, and we just did a little bit of training with the Letting Training Centre, it was called back then. I hadn't joined Property Mark, and as the years went on, I didn't see the point of joining Property Mark, which was then called Arla.
Yeah.
And so I didn't realise that money wasn't being paid in. So we used to do a lot of cash because tenants used to come with the cash.
It was cash. I used to pay about £10,000 every week in the bank.
Yeah, or even more than that sometimes.
Business was good in business.
And I didn't realise that what was happening was the partner was actually taking business away from us, that we were drumming up the business, and he was actually working with other agents.
Yeah, because about that small agents
so we used to work at in the area with all different agents, and we used to work together. But what would happen is we would split the commission, but what he was actually doing was taking the business to the other agents and pocketing his share of the cash.
Mm-hmm.
And so money wasn't, and then there was times when he would do a whole let, and that means a month's deposit and a month's rent in advance, and then he would keep that, and then he would tell me that he gave it to me to do the bankings. And what happened was 2008, Christmas time, when we came back in 2009, he said to me that, because my memory is quite bad, so he said to me, I did give you that money. I did, because I was doing the bookkeeping, and he said, I did give you that money. And Tony said, hold on a minute. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
Because I was here, and it was in the afternoon, and Mac had gone to pick up her grandmother from Victoria Station.
Yeah.
So there's no way that you could have
given her the money.
You could have do that. So I started going through the books, and I started finding stuff, and I'd already found other stuff in 2007, but I just left it at that time. But then that was it. So I said to Tony, I don't know how anybody can do that to us. So when I actually did a proper audit, we were £60,000 down.
Yeah, it was terrible.
What did he say when you confronted him with that?
He was sweating.
He was sweating, yes, because it's betrayal of trust.
This is your friend?
It's a friend, and I would say brother, because we live in the same village. We grew up together as students in Nigeria before we came over here. So it was a big betrayal of trust,
What was the fallout from all that?
Okay, so it was a partnership, and it wasn't a limited partnership. It was just a partnership. Yeah. So like sole traders, but partners. So we were liable for everything. He upped and ran away to Nigeria. And we were family friends. So I'm friends with his wife, etc. So that kind of caused quite a bit of problems. He left his wife anyway. But we decided to pick the pieces up, as we do, and we paid back everybody. We paid everything back. Yeah. So that, but it took time. It took a year or so, and we were in the it was probably 2 years. Yeah. And we were in the credit crunch, so we didn't have any wages at all during that period of time. But for me, integrity is the most important thing. Yes. So what we did was, we changed the name of the business. We set up a limited
New
company.
Horizons, from New Horizons, change it to Lucian Lettings Limited.
Yeah,
So become a limited liability company.
and we opened a client account, and we did things properly. And we said we would never have another partner again. And we got through it. I mean,
It wasn't easy, but we got
yeah,
A lot of people have said is that going into business with someone is a decision that you should take just as strongly, if not more strongly, than considering marrying someone.
Yes.
yeah,
That was
definitely.
a big lesson for us. It was a big lesson for us.
So due diligence, but I mean, even if you did due diligence, you can't ever know how somebody is going to turn out.
Yeah.
It's something in their life changes them to make them desperate to start taking money from, and it's like, but apart from that, I mean, we had to get through the credit crunch as well.
Yeah.
And the credit crunch was tough. That was really
Especially if you've got another 60 grand on top. What
Yeah.
do you think it made you stronger people?
Yeah, it did. It did.
Yeah.
We were very resilient, because if not that resilience, Michaela did well, because what she did was all our payments, everything, she said, no more credit card, nothing. She was paying with cash. And we have a proper, have 4-bed house in Lucian, we are renting out as rooms. That helped us as well. The HMO, we have our own property.
Well, we had two, didn't we?
You have
got
to,
two.
you have to in Lucian.
And we got other stuff as well. But our
And-
commercial, we bought that in 2007.
Yeah, the shop.
Yeah.
So you got through that. You're in the early teens in terms of 21. In terms of 11, 12, 13. Letting agency and state agency back on track. You started to buy a few properties yourself as things were going up. Okay.
No, we'd already bought them. Yeah,
Okay.
we'd already. Well, we did. We've actually added to the portfolio from about
2002.
2002 up. We stopped buying around 2000, end of 2018.
Okay. So your landlord's in the background, but that's just your personal investment vehicles because your grandfather liked them.
Yeah.
too.
Yes.
Okay. And I know it was around 2015 you started the landlord Facebook group. How was the letting agency going at that time?
At that time, it wasn't really going well. And then, because what happened is with online letting agents, started coming up. And because of the financial crisis, a lot of big agents, they were not really serious in letting before. Then they started doing letting in 2008, 2000, and they set up department, and the department carried on. So around Lucian area, we used to control the area with few other independent small agents, and the big agents muscled in, and things started, going.
So basically, the corporates moving into Lewisham meant that your letting agency was hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, they moved because sales were not moving. They basically started their own lettings, and also letting only started to be hit. First of all, it started with Gumtree. When Gumtree started, and Loot and Gumtree were the two. Once the landlords got to know about them, letting only became more and more scarce as they started to do their own lettings. And then open rent come along. Now, when open rent came along, I didn't see that as a threat. But if you ever sit in the landlords group and listen to all the landlords, they will tell you, I can advertise my property for £29. So, and they can advertise on Zoopla, Rightmove, and everywhere like that. So we're basically now dealing with very few let-onlys. They're mainly all managed properties, and a lot of my landlords I've had since 2002. And I mean, one landlord, I've got power of attorney. Some of them don't even ask me for a statement because, basically the trust is there, the integrity is there. I've been you know, I believe that what goes around comes around, and if you are an agent and you are in trouble, you need to wind up your business and make sure that your clients are not out of pocket.
So would you say you're now more professional landlords who just happen to have a small letting agency by 2018, 19?
Yeah. There was a lot of younger people, you know, they were setting up their own
Yeah,
letting
yeah.
agents. And then you have rent to renters, you know, that also
Yeah, rent to rent was
grabbing
another
the
thing as
landlords
well.
as well, you know, going direct to landlords.
Were you disappointed that your letting agency was drifting slightly?
Yes, in a way, because when you start something, it's like your baby, you know. We started it and it was growing 2002. Things were really moving, and then we moving there between 2002 and 2008, you know, things were really good for us. And all of a sudden, with credit crunch, I was investing in property. I said to myself, I set myself a target. I said, I have to have 10 properties before I retire. I was buying like 1 or 2 every year, you know, just taking it easy. And then all of a sudden, credit crunch came. I have to give up my mortgage by March 2009 because it's like turning the tap off.
And I know
Lenders were not lending. I was paying my administration fee to mortgage times, you know. I said, no, I can't be paying £300 every month without getting any income. So I just left and then focused on letting. I wasn't really so much interested in letting, but circumstances said, you got to do that to get on.
how did you get through the first lockdown?
Actually, the lockdown was the best thing that ever happened to me, because so many things happened. One of them was that Tony decided that he was going to semi-retire, and that was it. Because I was ill. I was having problems with my knees, and I was ill. Then I got COVID itself, and but during the period of lockdown, I actually got more clients, but more importantly, I had time to just sit and reflect and actually systemize my business. And I think that I
And you were
joined.
more on social as well.
Yeah, what happened was 2018. I took over the business from Tony, so I became the director and rebranded it, called it My Home. And I also joined Property Mark because we already had a client account, but you have to have a client account going forward for client money protection. And I'd never had client money protection before because I was actually the protector. Nothing would happen to my clients because I have enough integrity to make sure that they never out of pocket. So anyway, I joined Property Mark, and I passed the qualifications in 2016. I actually just I booked the exams and just went in there. I didn't do any study.
Test your knowledge.
Because I wanted to make sure that I knew what I was doing. So and then I just decided to join. So I joined Property Market in 2018. And in 2020, they sent me an email, said they were looking for regional executives. And I'd been on social media and I'd been doing loads of stuff. So just before lockdown, I'd started to network. Now, you might not think so, but I'm a bit of an introvert, really. And I find it very difficult to do networking and stuff like that. So that kind of brought me out of my shell a little bit, because Tony's very extrovert. So Tony absolutely loves
I love that
networking. He loves it. So
Bit of a showman, aren't you?
so
And the network I belong to, you can't believe it. It starts 6:30 in the morning. I couldn't believe I could do it, but we were looking for business, so we have to do it to generate business.
You like the breakfasts, do you?
Oh, yeah. Full English.
Isn't one of you part of Toastmasters as well?
Yes,
we both are, yeah.
I'm a member of it.
Yeah, because
both
that
of
was
us are
just before
Toastmasters.
we both joined, but Tony got me to join, really, because he tries to persuade me to do stuff.
Just for the benefit of the camp, what someone might know what Toastmasters are, what is that?
Okay, so Toastmasters is a speaking club.
Public speaking.
Public speaking. So you go and you stand up in front of and you do a 6-minute speech and you get, you know, feedback and stuff like that. It's very useful actually.
Very well.
And we just joined that. And we'd been to about 2.
About 2 meetings.
Yeah, and then lockdown came, and I started losing weight, and I started being a bit healthier, and I started doing lots of stuff, and then lockdown came. But instead of it to be like the end of the world, it was actually the beginning of my world, to be honest, because I came out of my shell, started to do a lot of online networking because I could get to the meetings because I was having problems with my knees, but I could get there because lockdown gave me the freedom to be online and talk to people.
Yeah, you also joined Partners in Property, you know.
Yeah, I just joined Partners in Property. That's an investors club, and I just joined that before lockdown. So they had an online thing.
Yeah, they were
that
good.
Was really good
during lockdown.
Yeah, that was really good. So, and then Property Mark were recruiting for a regional executive, and I thought, oh, you know, I probably won't get it, but I'll just apply for it anyway because it'll be interesting. And I actually got the position, so I was, you know, I thought, oh well, I can do this then. And the 3-year was just recently up, and I got recruited again. So I did have to go through another interview and stuff, though. Yeah.
You like going up the motorway to Warwick, do you?
Well, they're a great bunch.
They are a very good bunch.
Yeah. Yes.
So, it is my understanding that last year that you gave your shop up to your daughter. Is that right? She's running a beauty business there. Didn't fancy going in the property game?
No. Don't want to. Because what happened, you know, because our business, there was a time it wasn't doing well. So we always arguing, you know, we like to keep business and home affairs separately between ourselves. But the children see that we are talking about money all the time and things like that. So those things, you know, put them off, I think.
Do you think taking your letting agency hat on, off the high street and just attracting not any old landlord but specific landlords has made you a happier letting agent?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because when we were in the high street, a lot of people just come in there to have a chat. During summer, they just come to get cold water because they had a cold water machine in the office. Do you think waste a lot of time.
Do you think there's a lesson here for some letting agents watching this, that they don't necessarily have to be on the high street, and you'd rather have fewer landlords but higher quality landlords than basically loads of landlords just so you can pay the bills?
Yeah, what I would say to you is that I've spent the last 20 years never saying no, cutting my fees, doing things that make me feel beneath myself, if you understand what I mean, as if I'm not worth it,
personally as well.
as if I'm not worthy enough of being paid a decent wage. So, like, for example, a friend contacted us the other day and said, I've got a friend of a friend who would like to use your services. I said, fine, put them in touch. And they came back to me and they said, the current agent is charging 8%. And this is an overseas landlord as well.
In America.
And they're charging 8%, and we think your fees are too high. And for the first time ever, I just said, that's what I'm worth. This is what you're going to get from me. These are all the things that I can offer you, but I can't do them on the cheap because I need to be paid. But I didn't say it like that, but that's in a nutshell. And basically, they came back to me and said, could we have a meeting? So I had a meeting. She's in America. And we had a conversation, and she said to me, well, you know, 8% is really a lot of money, and we're already paying tax to the government because they haven't signed up for the NRL. And the current agent's just not performing.
It's obvious.
The current agent is not performing, and they're charging 8%. So I just said to her, I said, well, that's why I can't offer you the service that you're looking for, and that's why you're not getting the service that you want. So I haven't heard from her. Now, the thing about that is that I would be beating myself up about that in the past. I really take that personally and take that as me being a failure.
Yeah.
But I don't now. I look at that as if perhaps I've had a lucky escape.
A lesson learnt there.
Yes.
So now in 2023, you've taken semi-retirement, although by the sounds of it, you're working just as hard.
I wouldn't say it's hard, but doing my
That's hard.
I'm not looking after her. She used to look after me and the children, but now, she's in the forefront, I'm in the background, and, supporting her what she's doing.
You are a landlord yourself. You run a Facebook group for landlords, and you're also a bespoke letting agent for that part of London. Meanwhile, you are a qualified mediator, and I know that you're also part of the Agents Together as a mentor as well. Are you happy?
Am I happy? I'm happy with my life. I'm happy with my husband. I'm happy with the way the agency's going and the direction I would like it to go in. There's a little bit missing. I have this innate thing about helping people, and I feel like I'm not doing enough. So I used to do I used to walk the streets and help the homeless. That was before my legs got really bad. And a lot of people on Facebook, they donated quite a lot of money, and I was able to provide 100 sleeping bags for the homeless project and stuff. I'd really like to do something like that again, and I'm really interested in helping Tony to help young people to get into property, because he'd like to do that as mentoring. So there's still something there that I'd like to do.
But surely that is a good thing, because that's the fire in your belly that keeps you going. You've got two wonderful daughters who have set out on their own aspects of life.
Yes.
You've got a nice letting agency, a letting it that you run it. It doesn't run you. You've got a lovely husband who is crazy as hell in a good way. The life and soul of the
Looking
party.
after her.
But at the same time, he's not putting his oar in your business, because I'm sure he's a pain in the arse. You've been through an awful lot, but there's still something there that drives you even more, because you've accomplished as a couple. You've been through a lot of shit, if you don't mind me saying.
Yeah.
I always knew. I've really enjoyed this chat. That a lot of people say, why do I do these chats? Well, the cameras are on, but we're ignoring those. I love to get to know people that I want to get to know, and I've learned a lot from you guys today. I've really enjoyed it. Where will you be in 5 years' time if you come back on the sofa?
Okay, so in 5 years' time, I think I would like to be, if I'm still running an agency, I would like to be completely hands off. I'm not very good at delegation, so that has been a work in progress.
Are you a bit of a control freak?
Yeah, that's why I say she does this, that. Me, I delegate and manage the process. That's how I cook. She said I leave all the trouble for her. I said, no, don't leave all the trouble. I delegate and supervise.
Okay, so a bit more semi-retired, but still having your fingers in the pies. Do you fancy going for the big job at Arla?
I don't know, really. Yeah, I don't know.
Only time will tell.
Yeah.
No, to be honest, when she passed mediation, she walked out that week. Phone wasn't on. Renters Reform Act came out. She was dying to get on social media, but she can't because she focused on that. She passed the exam and she was really excited. So I think that will give her a lift,
I think that will come into its own.
Yeah.
This is a foresight that I have, that we will need mediation once the renters reform comes into play, and I see a lot of people in distress, so it's an in-between. It's a kind of in-between.
Well, boys and girls, we're coming to the end of the conversation now. We're going to do some separate videos about the hindsight of starting an agency and what you do differently, working with a business partner who is dishonest, and also working as a family. And we're also going to talk about how we're filming this in the middle of June 23. We don't know what's going to be happening to the economy, and if things do go a little bit south, how agents can prepare for that, because you've been through that. I want to say thank you very much for your time. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope everyone watching this has enjoyed it as well. So thank you for your time today.
Thank
Yeah.
you for having
Thank you,
us. Thank
Christopher.
you.
Thank you for having us.